Fitch's decision is puzzling in light of the economic strength we see in the United States. I strongly disagree with Fitch's decision, and I believe it is entirely unwarranted. Its flawed assessment is based on outdated data.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's reaction to Fitch downgrading United States' top credit rating. The White House, in a statement, said it also disagreed and blamed House Republicans, who the White House says were, quote, cheerleading default, unquote. Meanwhile, the Biden 2024 campaign is blaming former President Trump. It released a statement that said, in part, and I quote, "This Trump downgrade is a direct result of an extreme MAGA Republican agenda defined by chaos, callousness, and recklessness that Americans continue to reject," unquote. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins me now from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where the first family is vacationing. This had to come as a bit of a surprise, Weijia, because as you and I were covering all the drama around whether or not there would be a default or a debt ceiling deal, then we were wondering, would there be a downgrade? This sort of came out of the blue. It seems to me, at least from my perspective, did it come out of the blue from the White House perspective?
Absolutely, Major. That's exactly what we heard from the Treasury Secretary today. She said, because if you look at the economy and everything that the administration has done since January 2021, she points to strong job creation, the fact that unemployment is down, and the fact that, the U.S. did not have to default on its loans, which, by the way, the president himself acknowledged that if that had happened, that the U.S. credit score would have plummeted, and that could have led to chaos for Americans trying to pay their bills. So because that didn't happen, and Fitch still downgraded the credit score, that's why it is so surprising. But Fitch is saying that, look, it's not just about whether you pay your bills. It's about all the political instability that ensues every time you get your bill and you have to pay it, because we did cover that showdown, Major, and because every time there is this discussion about whether to raise the debt ceiling, you see these two sides becoming more and more contentious. And it is that chaos that this credit ratings group is pointing to say, we can't be certain that America will be able to continue on this path of reaching a deal every time based on what we've observed, including on January 6th, 2021.
And Weijia, the White House is also bracing for some very intense conversations with Congress about spending bills, all of which have to be passed by the end of September, or guess what? We're back in that conversation about a shutdown.
Exactly. And, that is something that is also taken into consideration. This is what Fitch pointed out, that there will be continuous uncertainty because, again, there's so much disconnect between these two parties. And who is it that has to decide whether the money is going to come through or not? It's not the president. It's Congress.
And Weijia, I want to ask you about a recent luncheon between the president and former President Barack Obama, in which apparently some either campaign advice or some campaign volunteerism was discussed. What can you tell us?
We know that these two leaders met at the White House at the end of June, and that the former president said that he would do everything that he could to help President Biden win re-election in 2024. We also know that this isn't necessarily new, because even in the midterms in 2022, it was President Obama that was out stumping for candidates, for gubernatorial candidates and for those who are seeking election in Congress as well. It wasn't President Biden, because as you very well know, Major, when it comes to these campaigns and stump speeches and gathering huge crowds, Mr. Obama is known for that, being sort of a magnet for these huge crowds. The President Biden sort of shies away from that. And so perhaps that's what President Obama is talking about when it comes to doing as much as possible, not only to rally voters, but also to raise money for President Biden.
And it's obviously clear to both of them the stakes are high, and it will be a tough, if it is a rematch, a possibly tough rematch in 2024, yes?
Absolutely, because, we were just talking about a new New York Times and Siena College poll that came out yesterday that showed that Biden and Trump are actually neck and neck at 43%, despite the fact that Trump faces so many charges, not only on the federal level, but on the state level, local level, and there could be more coming. And so the White House, as well as campaign sources, Major, even though outwardly are saying, of course, America's not going to reelect Trump, they are well aware that, it is going to be a tough match if it is Trump who is the nominee.
Coming to us from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where the first family is vacationing, at least for a little bit of this summer, Weijia Jiang, we thank you so very much.